Hello everyone, my name is Yara and today I'm going to be talking about my most anticipated book releases of 2019. Sorry if my voice is a little different, I've had a cold for the past couple days and 2019 is speedily coming around the corner. It's literally in about 5 days, and so I thought I would share some books that I'm excited to read next year. These are books that I'm almost 100% positive I will read and I will pick up. This is not every single book that I am interested in or could potentially read in 2019. These are just books that I know I absolutely will at least try to read. This list is also going in chronological order in order of release date. However, some of the release dates near the end get a little vague because I guess they're not as solidified. So first off, we have The Gilded Voles by Roshni Chokshi, and this is coming out on January 15th. Even though this book hasn't come out yet, I've heard so many great things about this book and about Roshni Chokshi's writing. I don't know much about it. I know that it's set in Paris in 1889 and it centers around a ragtag group of misfits that band together to perform a heist, and literally that's all I need to know to be interested. It's also a historical fantasy, which is a genre I'm trying to get into because obviously it combines two of my favorite genres, fantasy and history, so why not? On January 22nd, The Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chakraborty releases, and I am super excited for this one. This is a sequel to The City of Brass by the same author, which I read this past year. I forgot to mention that this list includes a lot of sequels and a lot of books by authors that I've previously read. I'm not the kind of person that heavily researches books before they're released, so a lot of these releases are just books that I'm aware of because I've known the author or I know this, I'm following the series. So The Kingdom of Copper, this is the sequel to The City of Brass. It is a Middle Eastern inspired fantasy novel that was so enjoyable to read. This is one of the most unique fantasy worlds that I've read from because it wasn't Western. So yeah, the world was so rich and the characters were so well developed, and I love following their relationships and I can't wait to learn more about them in the next installment. I actually might have to reread The City of Brass before I pick up this next book because this book very heavily relied on a lot of Middle Eastern mythology and it was hard for me to keep track of a lot of it, and I did listen to it on audiobook and I don't have the best track record with remembering things when I listen to them on audiobook. I'm gonna try to grab a physical copy before the next one comes out. I have like a month. The next book that's coming out on January 29th is King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. I don't know if I reached this status yet, but I'm pretty sure I'm Leigh Bardugo trash. I will read anything she releases now. As you might know if you watch my previous videos, I am in love with her Six of Crows duology. It is one of my favorite series of all time now. Currently, I am reading the Grisha trilogy as part of the Grisha Longathon, and one of the characters in the Grisha trilogy, Nikolai, plays a huge role and becomes one of the center characters in King of Scars. So I'm really excited to finish that trilogy so I can finally get to this book because Leigh Bardugo has such a way of forming stories and developing characters and making me feel every single emotion possible. The next book is On the Come Up by Angie Thomas, which is coming out on February 5th. Angie Thomas, if you didn't know, wrote the critically acclaimed The Hate U Give, which I did read this past year, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't think I loved it as much as everybody else. I had some problems with the writing and the pacing of the story. However, I thought the content and the story itself that Angie Thomas was telling was so important, was so significant for our generation to learn and to read about. And so I have high hopes that Angie Thomas will achieve that same thing in On the Come Up, so I'm so excited to read about that. Take a shot every time I say I'm excited. On May 7th, Again But Better by Christine Riccio is coming out. And Christine Riccio, if you didn't know, is Poland Banana Books here on BookTube. Christine was one of the first booktubers that I've ever watched, and she continues to be one of my favorite booktubers of all time. She inspired me to create this channel, and I love her channel and her to death. And so I, of course, want to support her and buy this book, but genuinely I'm so excited because I find her humor hilarious. And this is also a book that's set near college, which is not something we see very often. We see so many books about high school, and we don't often see, you know, these cute stories about people in college. And it's also about study abroad, which is something that I've always wanted to do. So obviously all the books on this list I'm excited for, or else they wouldn't be on this list. But if I had to pick one that I am most excited for, it is Aisha at Last by Usma Jalaluddin that's coming out on June 4th. What pretty much sold me on this novel was that it's a Pride and Prejudice retelling with Muslim characters. Like, I don't even need to hear anything else. And the reason why I'm anticipating it a little more than others is because it's already been released in Canada, and I saw so many good reviews about it, and I just wanted to get it, and I tried to get it shipped to America, but shipping is expensive, and it wasn't even available half the time. So now it's officially releasing in America, and I can finally get my hands on it. The next book I'm excited about is The Tyrants Tomb by Rick Riordan, which is coming out somewhere in October. There is no date yet. This is the 4th book in the Trials of Apollo series, which is a series that takes place after Percy Jackson and the Olympians and after Heroes of Olympus. I will seriously buy anything that Rick Riordan releases. I think I do own everything he's released, at least in middle grade, in some form of capacity, just because I never get tired of his stories and I never get tired of his characters. He always finds a way to take all these stories from mythology that I might not even know about, because he digs really deep into the mythology and makes them interesting. While there might be a similar formula, I never feel like I'm rehashing the same story. Since I've only read the first 2 Trial of Apollo novels, I do plan on marathoning 1, 2, and 3 before the 4th one comes out, and then I can read all 4, and then hopefully be super excited for book 5. This next book I think will be on a lot of people's lists, and it's Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare, which is releasing on November 19th. I'm pretty sure this release date is different from what was originally supposed to come out. I'm pretty sure The Last Hours and The Dark Artifices were supposed to alternate release dates, but she ended up just releasing all 3 Dark Artifices books sequentially, which I also haven't read. The Last Hours is going to be a series that takes place a few years after The Infernal Devices, which took place in 19th century London. I have been waiting for this series since after I finished The Infernal Devices, which is high quality stuff, high quality. And I can't wait to go back to the London Institute and see all these characters and see Will and Tessa, oh my god, and just read about the whole gang. I'll definitely have to read The Dark Artifices before I read this, but you know, I have like a year. There's time. The last book I have here, I don't actually know if it is releasing after all these other books, but right now there is no set release date besides 2019, and it is The Toll by Neil Shusterman. There's not even a cover for this, so I'm just shooting in the dark right now. This is the 3rd book in the Arc of a Scythe series, which is slowly becoming one of my favorites. I read the first 2 this year, Scythe and Thunderhead, and they blew my mind. Like, I don't think I've actually been shaken to my core until I read those. Neil Shusterman just has a fantastic way of coming up with these dystopian worlds that are so interesting and are so intricate and really, really make you think. And if you read Thunderhead, you know that ending. So I have no idea what's gonna happen in this 3rd book, but I'm so excited for it. Those are all my anticipated releases of 2019. I'm sure there are more that I will definitely check out throughout the year, but these are the ones that I am planning to right now. Please let me know what you're excited about, and maybe I can find some more. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye!